past and promise of days to come. We thank you for allowing us the opportunity to serve you by serving your people. We ask that what we do here today is done pleasing in your sight and decently and in order. We pray as always for our men and women that bear the uniform of this country, both at home and abroad. Protect them and keep them safe and bring them home if you will. We ask these and other blessings in our Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We gave the pledge the other day and Doris wasn't there, and I started to do that myself.
All right, do we have any agenda additions? Anyone? Any? Citizens' comments. Citizens who wish to address the commission must fill out a comment card and forward it to the president or the clerk of the commission. You have 3 minutes for your comments. Do you have any?
No.
Anyone want to comment? No? Reports. Mr. Lucky?
Yes, sir. First, there should be a handout in front of y'all from the sheriff that you know what they have done, the inmate hours that were worked and picked up the trash they picked up. Also, James, is it this coming Wednesday at 10 a.m. on the 5th floor of this building at the training room? FEMA will be here to talk about the new flood maps that they have. Correct me if I'm wrong, they've already contacted all the mayors and all the small towns and villages and made them aware of it. So they'll be, it's imperative that they be here for that. And I will be down there with James. James is going to be down there all day. And of course, if any of y'all want to come see and take a look at some new floodplain maps, they'll be available to them. Is that right, James? Okay.
And this is the 5th floor at what time?
10 a.m.
And what day?
Wednesday of this week.
Day after tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The first thing we have is our 2012 appropriations request, Shreveport Symphony. Do y'all have? Yeah, but they're here. Okay.
Mr. Dominic, do you have a question about that prior?
Yeah, the FEMA.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Douglas.
Mr. Lucky, I just want to tell you I've had several calls from the mayors in my district, and I wasn't 100% clear on what was going on. I have a better feeling now, but I'm going to be sure and tell them that if they got any questions, they need to be here Wednesday, and you and Mr. Dumache will be at that meeting to hopefully answer any questions along with FEMA.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. We have Miss Stephanie Tucker, a board member, and Miss Lois Robinson, who is the executive director.
Excuse me one more time. Miss Litt? Miss Lois?
I just wanted, no, I'll wait till
Okay.
after admin report.
All right. Okay.
Here. My name is Stephanie Tucker. I'm a board member for the last 3 years for the Shreveport Symphony, and we have an appropriation request, but I did want to introduce, and I'm going to let her handle it since she's the new, only 4 weeks on the job, and we already have her out and about Shreveport and the Caddo Parish. But I'd like to introduce Lois Robinson. She's our new permanent executive director. She used to be down in New Orleans. And so we're very happy that she's here, and I'm going to let her address the request.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you to the Commission for the opportunity to discuss this request. You all should have some information in front of you that is our request and a little bit of supplemental material. In addition, at the back of that is a budget which was not actually attached to the request when it was originally filed. This was actually filed a week before I started on the job, so I felt like at least we should put supplemental information on the budget. This, as you all know, the Shreveport Symphony went through some very, very difficult times over the last few years, including a strike that almost erased 2 whole seasons. The orchestra did come back for the majority of a full season last year, and we're trying to swing back into what would be a full activity level for an orchestra in this kind of municipal area. And one of the important things we think we would like to bring back that has not happened since the spring of 2008 is the education concert for all Caddo Parish school children. And this is, we present 4 concerts, and all the 4th and 5th graders in the Caddo Parish schools can attend free of charge. And we feel like we were not able to bring this back last year due to funding restrictions, and this is very high on our collective list, if you will, to bring this back, because I think it's a big gap in our programming if we're not able to do it. So the application does describe in some detail what this is. It's the second part of what you have is just a little bit of descriptive material that's part of teacher guides. So we would plan not only to have the kids come to a concert, but to distribute teacher guides well ahead of time so that the students can be prepared for the experience they're going to have. And there's further materials. It's all, I couldn't make a copy of this because this is definitely copyrighted material, but it's based on this book, and it's based on the music was actually commissioned by the San Francisco Symphony a few years ago. So it's very a high-quality program, and Michael Bunnerman, our maestro, is very pleased to have the opportunity to bring it to the school children of Caddo Parish. Anyone have any questions for me?
Dominic?
What about any of the other entities given, like the school board, since it seems like it's a school project, or the school board?
Well, the school board has given money right along, and did last year as well, and it will be this year too, but our programs actually have 2 distinct components. One is a small ensemble residency component that goes out into dozens of schools, and that's what the Caddo Parish funding paid for that last year, and it will pay for that this year again. But there was not sufficient funding from the school district to pay for both sides of the program.
How much did the school board give last year?
$33,500.
How much?
$33,500.
They plan on giving any this year, do you know?
To our knowledge, that appropriation is planned to be repeated. But again, that's a separately budgeted program, and that's when we started to look at what they were able to bring back last year, and not, their first year back from the strike. That was one of the things that they were able to bring back the residencies, but were not able to bring back the full orchestra concerts in Riverview Theater, so the full experience for the kids, which we would like to really have as a kind of a cap on the educational programs we do.
Ms. Lynch?
I just want to say, and I know this kind of preceded you getting here, and I'm not going to find it fast enough, but I think for the last 2 years, the commission has provided $30,000 in funding.
That's correct, ma'am.
To the symphony, back probably during some of the most tumultuous times,
Right.
to help that entity stay on its feet and stay a part of this community, and it was something that was needed, and it was something that we were, happy to do. And so I'm glad to see that with that support, the symphony is kind of back on its feet.
We're trying to get back on our feet. We still have, to be frank, between all of us, a little bit of work to do to get to where I would like to be in terms of administrative capacity, but I think that we're on the right track at this point. And I believe, as many do in this field, that you programs first. So that's why I'm very interested in getting the programs back into commission. Pardon the expression.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Bowman?
Yes, sir. I support the symphony, but I do have a statement, and I won't feel right sitting here not saying it. It amazes me that the school board can give $33,500 towards symphony and can't come up with a dime for truancy. That amazes me. Thank you very much.
No, you had to say that.
We're all thinking that. Okay, I see no other speakers. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Lucky?
Yes, sir. Next, we'd like to, I know that y'all have heard Mr. Wilson talked many times, and our commissioner talked to me about everything going on downtown. Ms. Liz Swain with DDA is going to come give us a little update about what is going on downtown. So, Liz, hey.
Thank you, everyone, and it's great to be here this afternoon, and I want to thank you for your ongoing support of downtown. Our downtown really is the heart and the face of our region, and we truly believe that as our downtown goes, so goes our parish. And we do have some good things happening in our downtown right now. I don't want to take much of your time because I know you're busy. Hopefully your monitors will be flipped so that you can see very good what we're going through. But we've got some activity going on in the Downtown Development District. And for those of you who don't know what the Downtown Development District is, let me see if I can get one. There it is. If there's a Rorschach test, I have no idea what this creature is. But that is the Downtown Development District. You can see on the north, it's Common Street. It goes over to North Market. It follows the river. Down on the east, it goes up Stoner, up to Marshall, and then to Interstate 20 on the south, and then it goes back over basically to the old City Hall, which is the Shreveport Police Department. So that's our outline of our development district. So here are some of the things that are happening in that development district. I want you to pay close attention to the investment. This is what we like to see. Over $20 million is going to be spent on this building, which is a historic building. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It's going to be affordable housing, which is going to be wonderful. They're going to start construction. There's already some equipment that's moved in right now, and they hope to have this open by next year at this time, so in 2012. These are going to be condominiums, an investment of nearly $2 million. A local African-American contractor named Dorette Vanderberg is doing this. Dorette is doing 12 upscale condos at a price of about $170 a square foot. So a 1,000 square foot condominium, $170,000. The Louisiana School of Law, we've heard about this for a whole long time, and we cannot wait until it happens. Don't know what the investment's going to be, but it's going to be a pretty penny, I can tell you that. Just remediation alone has been quoted at over $5 million. The last time we spoke with them, they're trying to raise the money so that they can actually pay cash as they go on this. And they're working now to get their contractors together, their environmental group together, and they're very eager about this. These projects put feet on the street downtown. When they open their law school, when it's up and running, about 300 additional people will be downtown, needing places to live, needing parking, needing places to eat. All of that helps our downtown economy. The Sears building and the two adjoining buildings along our historic promenade of Texas Street, the 600 block, investment potential over $15 million. The fellow who owns it out of New Orleans is working to get his final financing in place. Hopefully this will be done in the next 60 days or so. Art space, you've been hearing a lot about Shreveport Common. This is just one of the cogs in that wheel. The investment there is going to be about $600,000. By the way, the DDA does own the building that Art Space is currently in, which is 710 Texas, and also owns 708 Texas. And we allow the Shreveport Regional Arts Council to use those buildings for $0 per year. And we also pay them a significant amount of money each year to allow them to run those buildings. So that is our investment into the Shreveport Regional Arts Council in the West Edge. Central Art Station, again, the hub of that arts and culture district, an investment there of over $4 million, and construction is going to be starting there very soon for an opening of August of 2012. The Red River District, I know that you've been hearing from the city that they're trying to get back the ownership of the Red River District. It's looking now like this is going to happen in January of 2012. It's not happening nearly as quickly as we would like, but January 2012, we have hired, the city has a property manager. The investment there will probably be a couple of $100,000 to $300,000 as the city goes in, cleans up, changes up some of those buildings to make them more amenable to smaller businesses. The Lake Street Dance Hall, this is a great location over on Lake Street, the old ship radio building, an investment of over $1 million. It's open for business now and doing very well. It's a real taste of South Louisiana in downtown. A couple of other things we've got going on. This is going to be called the Market Street Grill. That's the old D's Photos on Market Street. We don't know what the investment is going to be in that yet. They're still under construction. You know about the Emmett Hook Center up at the First United Methodist Church, $6.4 million plus. And First United Methodist is talking about investing additional dollars in their campus as well. Some other things going on downtown, the old Jordan and Booth building in the 400 block of Texas. A fellow named Dick Grider, who owns Corner Collection Online, has purchased that building and is doing renovations there. The McAdoo Hotel, they're putting over $4 million. That's in the 1000 block of Texas Avenue. And you know, we've got a couple of new restaurants downtown. The old new Mansour's restaurant over there by Millennium Studios just opened today. We've got one right next to Government Plaza on Marshall Street. And then we've had some fairly significant investments in some different buildings and businesses downtown, Riverside Roofing and the Brian Thrash contractors. And we're talking currently to two banks who already have small branches downtown who are talking about fairly major expansions. So that will be a good investment of money downtown. We have some downtown sales recently all through our area on Texas Street, on Commerce Street, and on Texas Avenue. At least one of these is expecting that their location is going to be something special because of Shreveport Common, and we're very happy to see that. We do still have a number of opportunities. We have a great inventory of historic buildings downtown that we are so trying to save. These are wonderful buildings, and they tell the story of Louisiana and especially of Shreveport and of Caddo Parish. We have all of these buildings that are available in some form or fashion and need developers and need saving, and there are a few reasons that are keeping people currently from purchasing them, but we're working on that. So downtown Shreveport, we're excited about it, we're high on it, and we think it's something big. So that's what's going on in downtown, and again, I appreciate the opportunity to give you a briefing. Are there any questions that I can answer for you?
Ms. Lynch?
Just have a question. For the meeting Thursday, can you bring us a copy of you all's annual report?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr.
Do you
Lamb?
want our audited report?
Do you all just print
An annual?
kind of an overview?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We'll get you some.
Well,
I've got a few questions. 708, 710 Texas Street, the $600,000 reinvestment in that. The building looks great. What are y'all doing?
We are actually taking in the other building. The building that is currently Art Space is 710 Texas. And there's a building just to the east of it that is just a shell of a building.
yeah.
That's not C.C. Hardman?
No, it's on the other side. It's between Art Space and Tipitina's. And you
Okay.
wouldn't notice it, Matthew. It's very
Okay.
odd because it has the same facade as 710.
Okay.
But it's not part of their space currently. It's two separate buildings. And so Art Space is going to expand into that building. It will expand their gallery space. They're going to bring their cafe downstairs so it can spill out onto the sidewalk. We need sidewalk dining in downtown. We've got such great big wide sidewalks and we don't use them correctly as far as I'm concerned with having cafes outside. And so that's one of the things that they're going to be doing. But that construction should begin hopefully in the next 3 months.
And where does the $600,000 come from?
That is Shreveport Regional Arts Council. That's their investment, and they have raised that money through various means.
Okay. And then on the Ogilvy building, how much land do they have surrounding that building?
4 acres.
So they own the land underneath the overpasses?
They own a portion of that land. The land that's directly underneath is owned by the state.
Okay.
They own a lot of land behind Ogilvy that they'll
So-
be clearing out, and
Does
land
their-
to the east of it.
So is it in between the overpasses, or does it hop, skip, and jump?
It's in between the overpasses and behind the Ogilvy.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And then the affordable housing that's going in there, what is the price on that and who qualifies?
Affordable housing, they haven't sent us the exact numbers yet, but it's a percentage of your local median, and I believe it's 60 to 80%, probably closer to 60%. So a single person would be able to qualify if they make $24,000 a year. I believe a family of 2 or 3 would be able to qualify at up to about $40,000 a year, but those are the numbers that they're looking at.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all.
Mr. Cox?
Downtown underneath the bridge has always been a pet peeve of everybody because that is, used to be in the 70s and 80s was the place to go on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Then it took a
died.
It died. Yeah, I was gonna look for something else, but yeah, it died. To be nice about it, we brought somebody in from out of town that didn't know the area, did not work with the restaurant owners, did not work with the bar owners, did not work with the local investors to make that work down there. The bar owners, restaurant owners that I've talked to that are interested in going back down there, their main concern is, one, the facelift that it's going to get, the hours of operation, is the city going to have a stranglehold on it, security, and rent. Is the rent going to be so high that they can't make it? Because I heard $8,000 at one time for some of those buildings that wasn't no bigger.
Still is.
Okay.
It still is.
So what is the plan for that to be recouped? And so the bar owners that are down there now can thrive, because you bring in another set that is a makeup, they thrive, and everybody's happy. What do y'all have on a plan that says this is the right plan, and the guy that, or the person that y'all brought in, or the city brought in, does he have the background to do this?
Well, we believe so. Of course, the city is running the show on this, but they've appointed an advisory.
I got my fingers crossed anyway.
They've appointed an advisory committee, and we've been working on this ever since I've been with the DDA, so since last November, and it's very important to the city, and they want this area to be successful. There's no reason why it shouldn't be. Once they get control of it back from El Dorado and they can start making some changes, one of the first changes that they are going to make is they're going to start sending regular cleaning crews in there to spruce the place up. They're looking at it now. Some of those buildings are huge. There's no restaurant that can survive in a space that's that large, having to pay rents that high. So they're going to be looking at space needs, potentially carving up some of that space to get smaller restaurants, to get smaller bakeries, to get smaller coffee shops in there, and they're going to really downscale the rents. They understand that most restaurants can't pay $9,000 a month, which is still what some of those folks down there are paying. There are only 3 current tenants down there, and they're screaming bloody murder, and they have every right to be. So the city is going to take down the rents. They're also going to, they're not going to come in and, what they are going to do, and one of the things that we believe caused it to fail the first time around, is it was absolutely an adult-oriented venture. And it came alive late at night, and it stayed open until about 6 o'clock in the morning. But we think what's got to be down there are places that are open for lunch, places that are open after work so that you can go get a nice glass of wine and sit out there and listen to live music. Then if those restaurants and other entertainment facilities want to stay open until midnight, they absolutely can. But everyone who has a building down there is going to have to agree to be open for lunch and be open after work, where you can go down, hang out, you know, buy beignets, buy coffee, whatever it is you want to do. It can't just be nighttime, late night, early morning only.
Right.
So that's one of the things that the city is going to be telling people. If you want to get these really great rents, this generous offer that we're going to make you, one of the things you're going to have to do is abide by our rules on the times that we set to be open. And you're going to have to be open on Saturdays and Sundays, because that's when people are in town for conventions. And so that's when we want to grab all of those people. So the city has a good idea of what's needed. They've seen what didn't work. Consequently, they have a really good grasp on what they believe will work. And the property manager that they've hired is Deborah Camus with Lee Hall Property. And you know, their building is right there outside the Red River District. Boy, they have a vested interest on making that work. And she's there every single day. So she'll be watching it very closely.
Okay, last question, if you don't mind. The buildings that are not too far away from there, that are falling in,
Yes.
that we have temporary walls built around,
Yes.
what is the city or the downtown development plans for that?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, at this point, nothing. The building that you're talking about is the old Ogilvy grocery store. That's owned by the Dellinger Trust, which is the woman out of California who also owns B'nai Zion, the Arlington Hotel, and a number of other historic buildings downtown that are caving in. That building has caved in to the point that it's impacting Charlie Lombardino's building right next to it. Jim Holt with Property Standards has gotten a quote on demolition of $150,000, and no engineer is willing to stamp it because they're worried that during the demolition it will impact the building beside it, and then the city will be on the hook for both buildings. So at this point, they're just talking about continuing to sue, and, you know, certainly Joyce is familiar with all this because she was on the city council as they were dealing with Jody and with the Dellinger Trust, and they're just going to try to continue to force her or pressure her to do something about it. But I'm not optimistic that she is, and I don't know what the end result is going to be other than we're going to see more bricks fall to the ground, unfortunately, at that location.
All right, thanks, sir. Mr. Pearson.
How many units, condominium units did
In
you
Durrett's
say?
building?
Yes.
12.
Okay, do you know how many are planned to be downtown altogether? I know there's going to be some rent, but I want to know if there's, how many condominium units are planned?
We have very few condos downtown right now. As a matter of fact, the only condos that you can buy are in the Red River Bank building. That's the Tobin Grigsby units. And there are, at last count, only 2 of those still available. And I believe that they may be gone now because somebody bought 2 and are knocking a wall out.
Right.
In addition to Durrett's 12, those are really the only condos that we have downtown. And we don't have many apartments at all. We've got the Lee Hardware building, which is affordable housing, and we've got United Jeweler, which is market rate. We've got the Fairmont, which is voucher, HUD voucher housing. And really and truly, you know, we've got a space here and a unit here and a couple of units here, but we have so little residential downtown, and that's really a key to making our downtown vibrant. It really is. So we're pushing that hard.
Okay, thank you.
See no other speakers, I appreciate you coming, Liz.
Thank you so much for the
you.
opportunity.
Thanks,
Do
Liz.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, that concludes our admin report.
All right. Communiques from the commissioners and committee reports. Mr. Cox?
First off, Carl and I were down at the Police Bureau Association's executive board meeting this past weekend, or Friday anyway, and they have a program that's going to be coming around, and I've got the paperwork at my house, and I'll bring it Thursday. It's the Quilt of Louisiana, or Stitch Louisiana, or something like that. What they want us to do is each parish put in a design. And Carl and I basically were saying, you know, the design that we have on our lapel pins would be really nice. So they were asking each parish to put it in by November 3rd. So I'll bring the form and see what y'all think, and we can get that back to them as quickly as possible. And then the quilt will go around to each parish and stay so many weeks at each parish, and it'll just be on normal rotation for everyone to see. Also, I'd like to, I'd asked Mr. Dumache about this, and let's go ahead and, if at all possible, I got a complaint today that on the corner of Linwood and Chatelaine, our favorite place, he's opened up a repair shop there now. And not only do you have a trailer that's falling in, he's now fixing up cars. And that ain't gonna work. So I'm still open to a late afternoon or Saturday morning to go out there and get this done as quickly as possible and shut him down. I'd also like to make a request of the administration to get an audit or a copy of the last year's audit for Fire District 6 from Fire Chief Damian Johnson for a constituent of that area. And if I could have that by Thursday, I would appreciate it. Other than that, thank you, sir.
That's the 2009, 10? All right.
We have it.
Does Lynn have any? Okay.
Yes, I just wanted to let the commissioners that didn't make the meeting today, the NGO committee meeting, to get a packet from Todd. Thank you.
Here.
Yes, also in our executive board meeting last Thursday and Friday, we got the final numbers on the convention, and just wanted to let you know again, thanks so much, but the budget for the convention was $160,000, and we turned it in at 116. So we came in way under budget. The vendors, well, it was more vendors, that's the biggest vendors group that we've ever had. And so it was a success, and just want to, just reiterate my thanks personally of how well we did, and how much I appreciate everybody who tuned in and did things to help make it a success, because we had one of the finest and the best conventions that they've had, and certainly want to try to keep those cards and letters coming. So thank you very much.
All right. We have tax review committee. We met today. We had one appeal. We sent them back to the assessor's office to try to work it out. They called and said they worked it out. So, but we will still. We've asked them to come to the meeting Thursday to make it official that the appeal has been worked out. So that was the only one we had. Was just that one. Any other committee reports? Okay. Any old business? New business?
Yes, sir. We have ordinance number 5127, 2011, amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for the oil and gas fund and capital outlay fund in the amount of $600,000 for utility district water study.
Move to Thursday, and I'd like to speak to that if I get a second.
All right.
I've talked to Mr. Wilson today, and everybody here in the office, I think, and we're having a natural resource committee meeting Thursday at 2 o'clock, and I've asked them to come and speak to us as a group at our committee, and invite all the rest of the commissioners to come and listen in on the changes or update us on things that are going on with the shower group, so that we can all have a little bit better of understanding. As you know, this will evolve as time goes through. Bossier is in. I don't know about the city. They'll update us on that. But it'll be Thursday at 2 o'clock, so they will be there to answer any questions.
Commissioner Smith, I can be back?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Lynch?
When you say that Bossier is in, you mean as far as financially? Or?
Financially, and honestly, I don't know exactly how much, but they will update us Thursday.
Will that be in addition to the $600,000 or included in this $600,000?
I understand 600 is our part.
Okay, is our part. Okay, gotcha. The only other question I had was about the Shaw Environmental Group. Was that a bid? How did we choose? How did we get to?
I really can't answer that. I'm sure they'll answer it Thursday.
Mr. Lucky, can you answer that?
I can. It was a professional services contract.
Okay. Do you know how much it's for?
It's for $800,000 total.
Okay. Do we have? Okay, I'll find out later. Thank you.
All right, cast your vote to move this to Thursday. Okay. Next one.
Ordinance number 5128 of 2011, amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for juvenile justice fund in the amount of $40,000 for truancy program.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
I'd like to see.
Lynch?
To make it a motion, won't you?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In touching base on this and looking over all the facts and numbers and meeting with the Shreveport Police Department and meeting with the sheriff and looking at the numbers at CCC, right now Caddo Parish spends quite a bit of money. Those numbers reflect down to the population at CCC. 90% are homegrown Caddo Parish residents, and of that 90% housed at CCC, approximately, again, 90% are high school dropouts. And so we're paying $35 million a year to operate CCC, and it's basically full of high school dropouts from Caddo Parish. And so there's one number that we're spending on truancy. The juvenile detention facility, again, it's operating at $5.5 million annually, and that again is full of basic children that are not in the school that they're supposed to be in. And so the money is being spent. However, it's been being spent in a reaction state rather than a proactive state. In putting this $40,000 up there, Commissioner Escadade and I met with Dale with the city earlier today, and he said that $40,000 from the city is always on the table. And speaking with the city council people that I've spoken with, that they are going to push that through. We've met with Cecile Guin with the state of Louisiana, and she has said that because we have brought to the table the district attorney's office, the sheriff's office, the Shreveport police, the city of Shreveport, that Caddo Parish was at the table, and that of course the Caddo Parish School Board was at the table at the last meeting, that since we are all talking, that now brings state money into action, and that she is going to recommend that come July 1st that the state contribute towards our truancy program. She will be attending another meeting, her and her office, later on this month when we meet again with the city, with the school board, and with the parish. The reason why I put pending contributions from the city, which I know are there, and the reason why I put pending contributions from the school board is because we needed to have that money on the table so that everybody sees that we mean business to take care of truancy, at least until July of next year, when we can hopefully have between now and then to formulate another plan. And I had to put those contingencies on there in order to guarantee the vote on this board, and I hope that you all move it forward. Thank you.
I don't see any other speakers.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Lynch?
I've already talked with Matthew about this earlier, so I'm not really saying anything that I haven't shared with him already. One, on this particular ordinance, it starts off saying that the Department of Juvenile Services has an ongoing program to address concerns related to truant juveniles in Caddo Parish, which I'm not really sure if we have a program or if we're just working with an organization that has a program. You know, I really don't think government can be all things to all people. A lot of what we're dealing with just in society is a result of personal choices and personal responsibility, whether that's on the part of the students, whether that's on the part of their parents, whether that's on the part of the folks that are responsible for teaching them and all of that. Two, I think this is an unmandated program and service. We talk about unfunded mandates that are coming down from the state all the time. With the Caddo Parish Commission is not mandated to address truancy. It's largely a responsibility of the school board, which they have accepted and acknowledged through the various meetings that we've had with them. And I'm not really interested in getting into unmandated programs or unfunded mandates. Thirdly, I think any additional spending that we do out of the juvenile budget is basically deficit spending. We know that operation is already at a deficit. It's been at a deficit. We're continuing to spend money out of a deficit. A fund that already has a deficit is part of the problem that we're looking at even at a national basis. And how much longer can we do that? Is it something that's sustainable over the long term? While I know the state has said that they're willing to contribute, it's not going to pay for the entirety of the program. And prior to 3 years ago, Caddo Parish was not in the truancy business. And now all of a sudden, in addition to everything else, I think that we're really, really focused on largely creating jobs and addressing the water problem. Some of these other things that are the responsibility of other government entities, are we going to start taking those on too? Crime is down in Caddo Parish. It's been down for the last 5 or 6 years. I don't think that truancy is the world is on fire over this truancy program. Our law enforcement is doing a good job. for those folks that make a decision that they're not going to be in school. We're very focused on bringing jobs. A lot of people don't see the path of education as leading to anything because there are no jobs and there are no opportunities. We are very focused on making sure that those opportunities are there so that these mostly young black men, which are probably 90% in our juvenile detention facility, as well as at CCC, as well as in the city jail, have an opportunity and a reason to stay in school. I think the meeting that we had on September the 8th, where all the parties were there, it was a little crowded. I think the plan was to have a follow-up meeting on the 29th of September, where the decision makers, meaning I think the administrators, the superintendent, the school board presidents, I think our president was going to be present to work out a plan. To me, this puts the school board in a defensive position, which we've already seen how that worked at our last meeting. They were kind of on the defense, but what they were clear that I saw that they presented was the flow chart. They demonstrated by what they presented in that particular meeting was that they were following the mandates to the T. They weren't doing any more, but that they felt that they were following the law and what was mandated exactly for them to do. They acknowledged that the VYJ was an additional intervention that, yes, was effective and that was efficient. But what Senator Jackson, Superintendent Dawkins, and I think either Matthew or Woody, the conversation was, this is better than what we've been doing, but is it the best? And let's get back together and come up with a scenario. They've had an offer, they put it out there, that they had someone that was willing to provide the services that BYJ is currently doing at an expense for free. And they were going to have some follow-up meetings with them to see if they could work out something to where it would not cost the school board any additional money, which meant it would not cost us any additional money, nor would it cost the city any additional money to provide these same intervention services. I just think that we are creating a welfare state here. I think that I don't think that the Caddo Parish Commission should be held hostage by anybody, whether that's the school board or whomever, that if we don't do this, then we'll have to pay later. If you don't do this now, then you have to pay later. You can say that about a whole lot of things. You can say if we don't feed people, if we don't, go and make sure they have a job, if we don't do this, we don't do that, then we'll have to pay later. And I understand that argument, but I don't think we should be held hostage by anybody because of that. And then I think Joyce gave me my last point, that if the school board can put up $33,000 for the symphony, then certainly they should be able to come to the table and put this up without us having to put in an ordinance that we're not going to give you it, we're not going to put any money into this unless you do. And so I think that's just my collective reasoning on this issue. So I will not be supporting it when it comes up for a vote. Thank you.
Mr. Escalade?
Is there any projections or correlation or any data that would indicates if this particular program didn't continue that it would show any kind of an increase in residency at the juvenile detention facility? Yeah, did anybody?
Yes. And I'd like to call Clay Walker up here to help me with this. The number of students that we worked with, and again, when I talk about this program, the money that's hovering, this $80,000 looking for an additional $40,000 for a total of $120,000, this is not earmarked for any one organization. This is so that the money is there ready to spend when the school board and the city and the parish come together with collective reasoning to decide how best to spend this towards saving the parish money with juvenile detention and saving the city money with police enforcement tracking down youth that are out of school or dealing with youth that are not in school, and of course providing that youth for the school system to then in turn get state funding from it. And so it's a win-win-win deal for all three organizations or all three governmental entities, and it's a net gain in funding it with the amount of money that it brings into the governmental entities instead of reacting and spending twice as much on curing the problem. And so if those students that we had not brought back into the school system, when I say we, I mean the truancy program that was in effect, when the truancy program brought into effect, what type of tax burden would that have provided on Caddo Parish?
The only numbers I think I could give you is that VYJ served about 3,000 kids, putting about 1,125 of them back in school. That 1,125, if they were not in school, I feel very certain that they would be picked up. They're going to go first to the truancy drop-off center on Wyandotte. If they get multiple charges for that, or if they pick up a more serious charge, they're going to come to the detention center. So what number of those, I don't know yet.
Could you give us a conservative and a worst possible case scenario? Give us so we'd have a window.
I can tell you just honestly, it would be speculation. We have about 1,000 kids that come through the detention center, about 400 a year that go through the misdemeanor referral center. I think that a good number, probably 200 more, might be coming through detention.
And how much more would that cost Caddo Parish with having 200 more youth coming through the detention facility?
You know, on a number of different levels. You're talking about 200 times 3 meals a day. You're talking about increased liability of doubling up beds. You're talking about a great deal. If you consider that our detention center runs at about $3 million, I think, $2.5 million for 1,000 kids, if that's another fifth of that. I mean, it's somewhere in that neighborhood, 250,000.
What's that number?
The 200,000.
I mean, I can tell you it's more than 40,000 if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, Clay.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Up until this year, this program was funded by the school board, correct?
In part, yes, sir. It was in part by the state. The committee of 100 gave some money, and my understanding the school board gave 180,000.
The school board gave 180,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and now they don't want to do anything. That's pretty much where we're at.
You know, where I'm hoping we're at is they're willing to do something, but we don't know a dollar figure yet. They've been at the table, and we set another meeting for the 29th, but no, sir.
Because the program doesn't work?
No, sir. Program works, and they acknowledge it
They've
works.
squandered their money? You're not going to answer that, are you?
No.
Okay, I'll say it because they squandered their money. See, what I'm concerned about, and it's like Ms. Lynch said, is they're holding us hostage. We've made great strides and efforts over the last few years to get the numbers down at juvenile detention through other programs, you know. And now they're saying we have a program that has worked. We don't have the resources, or we're not going to allocate them, so we'll dump it back on the parish. So we're faced with a situation. We either roll the dice and not fund the program and potentially see our numbers increase, which at juvenile, which we don't want to do, or go ahead and fund the project, keep our numbers down, and at the same time kind of known that we've been taken advantage of and subsidize their irresponsibility up to this point. Because $180,000 in a what, $400 million budget there, Coach? Or
477.
477. That's nothing. I'm like Miss Lynch. I don't like this. I don't like being held hostage, but then at the same time, I can see the tremendous potential for increased expense on the parish's part if we don't do this. So how do you do this? Appropriate the money under protest? I mean, I'd really like to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna support this only because I don't think they're going to come up with their $40,000. I think that they're bullheaded. I think they're that short-sighted. I don't know whether the leadership is on the school board. I don't understand. They don't seem to have any. I don't know where it is with the administration. If they can't see this program for being worthy and understand it, then that's obviously why they're not funding it. It's because they don't understand it. if they don't understand it, they don't need to be on the school board, because this is a no-brainer. I mean, you know, you can give a third grader to understand this. You know, if you invest X amount of dollars over here, it saves you 50 times that amount over here. It's not rocket science. So I'm going to support it, because I don't think they're going to pony up, and let's just see what they do. Thank you.
Erica, what were your numbers?
I came up with right at 500,000.
Thank you.
If it was 200 kids.
Ms. Bowman?
Yes, sir. You know, this past Friday, I think it was, and this happens quite frequently over in my community. I saw about 3 or 4, 11, maybe 12-year-olds walking down Murder Street. And as always, I stop them and say, why aren't you in school? Some of them get smart, and some of them, most of them, are respectful. But it's just the idea that they should have been there. My deal with this, and you certainly know how I feel about the school board not owning up to their part. I will certainly support you, Matthew, because you did put, and I think that this sends a message that you know, you're not going to play us, number one, when you said, whereas these funds are contingent upon the Caddo Parish School Board and the City of Shreveport each matching funds of $40,000. Okay, where we are right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm really trying to pick up on a lot of this, but we are trying to fund through July of next year, right?
Correct.
Okay. If we don't do that, it's going to be catch-22, where you pay me now, pay me later. That's what's going to happen, I see.
Pay $120,000 now collaboratively, or suffer $500,000 in losses in addition to the cost of running juvenile detention facility.
Yeah, well, that's
Plus
basically
what the city of Shreveport would have to incur with SPD cost, which is why they've come to the table.
Then I'm going to support you, because everything that I think we basically said in the committee meeting to you was, you know, after your September 8th meeting, and you know, what you reported back, I just think that we need to send a strong message that, you know, yeah, we, you know, reluctantly are going to do what we need to do to get you through July, and some serious talks need to take place, you know, during this process before July gets here. Again, I support it, but if we don't do anything, I just see trouble.
Mr. Smith?
You know, we sat here and talked about this several times. None of these children that we're talking about that are little problems chose their parents. Not a single one of them. They didn't choose their circumstances. They didn't come into a family like ours that's going to be taken care of to the nth degree. For us here to, and we're getting taken advantage of, I agree with that totally. And it's ridiculous for the school board not to step up and do what they're supposed to do. They've got plenty of money. We know that. And in my opinion, they waste it. But that doesn't have anything to do with the need here today. The children need help. To not fund it is ridiculous to me. We got plenty of money. We have plenty of money to take trips, I've noticed. Lots of places, lots of times. And it's ridiculous how much money we spend on travel, guys. And we sit here and talk about not funding the children? Give me a break. All right. I'm going to support it all the way. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Pearson?
Clay, it was my understanding that the community foundation funded the $180,000.
My understanding, sir, is that's how it started. It was an upstart grant, community foundation for 3 years, showed some success. The school board then took it over. I believe there was a misunderstanding about how long that would, if that would be 1 year or more. what have you, but I can just tell you it's ended this last year.
Okay.
Community Foundation started it, so yes, sir.
I just can't believe, thank you, I just can't believe 1,100 children just aren't worth saving. I just have a hard time believing that. Now, I realize that a whole lot of things we do may or may not be our responsibility, you know, but children are all of our responsibility.
Amen.
And if we can't do something to help, and this is not like taking over the whole responsibility, this is advocating taking a part of that and being a part of helping to make a difference in the lives of these children. I mean, one way or the other, we are all going to lose if we don't take care of them. Now, I mean, you can call that being held hostage if you want to, but if we don't do something to help take care of the needs of our children, we're all going to be held hostage. Sure, we've done a good job. They've done a good job with juvenile services and the courts trying to advocate on behalf of these kids with the LIFE program and all other kind of programs to try to help these kids get back in mainstream. But you just got to realize that the more time these kids spend out of school, the less likely they are to be successful in life. And if whatever we can do to help them to get back in school as soon as possible, then the greater the opportunity or the chance for them to be successful in life. You know, and that's what we ought to all be trying to do with children, is trying to make them successful. You know, I mean, they all make choices. We make choices too. I mean, and sometimes, you know, those choices are based on the environment. You know, but God knows if I can't do what I can to help a child, then, I mean, because hadn't been for the grace of God, I could have been even with two parents. Could have been the same way. I mean, I just so happened that I didn't. For all of us, it had not been for some intervention at somewhere down the line, we could have been, you know, someone that had to have some problems with the courts or otherwise. So I'm going to support it, and I'm going to always support and advocate on behalf of kids. You know, 1,100. I mean. We had 3,000 children we tried to service, and out of that 3,000, we got 1,100 who finished the school year. That's 1,100 that perhaps don't have to be in judge's court, and I'm going to support that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Cox, you're first round. Go ahead.
Okay. Times change. I mean, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way up until now, times change. If a kid was in truancy back in the 60s and your neighbor saw you, not only did they whip you, but your parents whipped you when you got home. Okay? We don't live in those times anymore. We have kids, just like Ms. Bowman said, that are walking the streets that should be in school. We've asked the state to help us out with programs. We lost Star Boot Camp. And Mr. Cox, I saw him a minute ago. He was the driving force for Star Boot Camp, and that was a program that actually worked. But our state let us down, and some of our representatives let us down and let that die. We have to do what we have to do to keep kids honest and in school. Are we going to have to bite the bullet? Yeah. But on the other hand, we should ask the school board and the city to come together, work together to help help the judges get this problem solved. If it means putting the parents on notice, and as a judge, you should be able to tell that parent, if they're not in school, you're in jail. Make it to the point where these parents, whether they're a single parent or a two-parent family, I don't care. Make it to the point where they have an obligation to these children as well.
That's right.
Until we do that, this money that we're throwing in here today, or Thursday, with the help of the city and the school board, is all it is money being thrown into an endless hole. I have said for 8 years since I've been up here, there's probably some programs at your facility that do not work, but we spend money on it every year. I would be under the assumption that you're doing your part as far as looking at things that don't work and you're throwing them out. You've been here, but you ain't been here that long. So I'm hoping that you're doing that. But the school board has to have a firm grasp of the situation. This is not our job. It's our problem. It's everybody's problem from north to south, east and west. Because when that kid's not in school, are they getting in trouble? 9 times out of 10, yeah. Crime, you say crime's down, I say crime's up. We need to help them out. But with the understanding, like Mr. Lynn has it written up, the city and the school board has to understand. Now, I'm going to get with Larry Ramsey later this afternoon and go over this with him and let him understand from my behalf, from my district, I want to see a little bit more out of the school board. Thanks, sir.
All right, I got Mr. Johnson first time around.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to echo what Commissioner Pearson was saying. Basically, we are responsible for newborns up until I think the oldest person in the parish is 108. That's our responsibility as the commission. And I think that if we have to step in sometime to help out another government agency, we have to. Mr. Clay, I do have a question for you. How many truancy programs do we have in effect in Caddo Parish right now?
Well, there's only one right now, the Rutherford House Truancy Drop-Off Center. If a police officer sees a child that is apparently school age and it's school hours, and they don't have a logical reason for being not being in school, police pick them up and take them to a facility on Wyandotte. Unfortunately, all it does at this point really is keeps the child, contacts the family, and connects the two. But it allows the police officer to drop them off quick and get back on the street to deal with something more pressing. But that's the only one active right now. Volunteers for Youth Justice had to let their folks go, but they are here in the community, still partners with us in a lot of different programs, and still willing to work with us. Goodwill Industries did some of the work over in Bossier, and they're also willing to work with us if need be.
Okay, so that program also helps reduce the number of juveniles going to juvenile detention centers.
I believe absolutely what you're talking about. You have a lot of different problems y'all have touched on between family and environment and everything else. Truancy is simply the first symptom. Delinquency is about 3 or 4 symptoms later, but it's all the same problem.
Right. Okay.
And if we catch it at truancy, we nip it in the bud. I believe that very much. And just to point out on what Mr. Smith said, he's exactly right. The highest percentage of truancy in elementary school is actually in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. That's the highest level of any grade in elementary school is kindergarten, and it's family issues. When we address those family issues, we actually get the kids back in school. This program does it kind of informally, tries to work with them. If they do it, great. If they don't, we can actually get jurisdiction, as to what Mr. Cox said. The judges have jurisdiction over the parents if it gets all the way to court. If we can deal with it informally, it's cheaper and that's better. If they don't do what they need to do, we can bring them to court and have jurisdiction over the parents. So what we're hoping to do is get the kids back in school, and for the parents that will work with us, we'll try to turn that around too. So we have programs that power of choice for kids. There's a power of choice for parents too. So we can put parents into programs to try to help them. I mean, a lot of times it's just they didn't have a role model themselves. So we're trying to turn all of that around.
Nominate. Just a few points. I think I'm the only one who spoke. Everybody has spoken. I mean, this is a very hot topic, emotional, very important. Yes, you're exactly right. The reason I asked that question about the symphony is I wanted to know, and I was thinking exactly the same thing. I think it's been $33,000 for the symphony. Why can't they spend the $40,000 to come to the table for this truancy issue, which means the world to our citizens and these young children. I've always said the juvenile justice system is extremely important to our area. It's one of the most important things that we do, and it seems that communities do not, or citizens and residents don't take heed or understanding until this affects you personally. The truancy issue, Matthew, I want to say, I think you did a good job getting this drawn up, putting it down, as it stated, is contingent upon the school board and the city coming up with the $40,000. We'll vote on that in the near future. I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do, if the school board does or doesn't come up with the funds. But we can sit here and talk till our face is blue. I think every one of us know that this is extremely important to try to do something to fix this truancy problem, and we're going to go forward with it. I'm going to support it, and hopefully we can move forward right now and move it to Thursday.
Fletch?
Well, I just wanted to clarify a few things. One, I don't think that anybody I don't want anybody to think that Caddo Parish does not spend resources on children to help kids. I'm looking at a list, and I know for the last 2 years we spent well over $1 million, and a lot of the programs that we fund to other entities deal specifically with children. Whether that's, we fund Boy Scouts, Theater of Performing Arts, some of the Providence House money goes to to help the kids whose parents are there, Learning Haven, Renzi Education, and Art Center, Supportive Integrated Services, and the list goes on. I mean, we're not taking care and making sure that the kids and the children in Caddo Parish are not supported. The other thing about the increased expense, if the kids are truant or on the streets, we've decreased our population in juvenile, but I don't think that budget over there has decreased. It's gone up every year, even though we're almost at half of the population. When we had 50-something kids in there, we were still running a deficit and spending, Miss Erica, was it over $4 million? Mm-hmm. Over $4 million a year. Now we're running maybe between 15 and 20, and we're still spending over $4 million a year. So this whole argument about, we see 200 more kids within a year, we're going to spend another $500,000. I don't think that's necessarily true. Again, I think everybody has said the school board, they get almost 70% of the property taxes. In addition to that, they get state monies, they get title, I don't know what, all kind of title money from the federal government. Sales tax money. I mean, they're awash in cash. I think the strongest message that we can send them is to man up on their responsibility. We have helped. We've never not helped and assisted, and that is the role when we went to the meeting on September the 8th, and even the meeting that preceded that, we were very clear with saying that we were willing to come to the table and to assist them. Am I not right, Matthew? That was very clear, that we wanted to assist and be a part of the solution, but that it was not, we were not going to have the whole enchilada. And I think that's still the position. The main concern I have about this is doing it at this time is when we left that meeting, the next meeting was to actually make a decision. They were going to come back with what their plan was, which from all indication was going to say, we can do this without incurring any additional expense. And that is the route, as I appreciate it, that the school board is trying to go because of their financial situation. We've just got to decide at some point, are we going to do deficit spending for truancy, which we may decide to do that, and come July of next year, what's going to happen? Because even if the state kicks in money, it's not going to be enough to pay for the program. If we're willing to do that, that's fine, but it's going to be to the tune of several $100,000 as opposed to $40,000 to actually keep the entire program in place. So I just wanted to clarify those points. Thank you.
Mr. Williams?
I'll rescind. I think we probably both.
Okay, I haven't spoken. Let me just say one thing. Having been a former school board member, and Judge Matt Rock, I hope you will agree with me. Let me tell you something, folks. This is all good, touchy-feely stuff about it's for the kids, and I guess if we're the only ones that are going to pay for it, that's fine. But let me tell you, when you put 1,100 kids back into the school system receives over $5 million in MFP money. So don't tell me they don't have money for this program. They don't have the heart for the program. They have the money. And that's what upsets me more than anything. We're going to put money in so that they can collect another $5.5 million from the MFP. And all they have to do is have those folks in school 2 days a year, the correct 2 days a year, and they're going to get that $5.5 million. And we're sitting here writing a check for 40 along with the city. So I spent 25 years of my life teaching kids, so I have a heart for kids, but I also don't have much, I'm not tolerant of BS, and that's what we're getting from the school system. That's all I have to say. Here. Escalade? No. Okay. Cast your vote, please, for move to Thursday. What you see on here will probably never happen again.
Let me get my camera, take a picture.
All right. Moves to Thursday.
Ordinance number 5129 of 2011, amending the budget of estimate revenues and expenditures for the Juvenile Justice Fund in the amount of $28,000 for juvenile court program entitled Facts of Life.
So moved.
Second.
Who was the maker of the motion?
I made it.
Okay. Would you like to speak?
Well, Matthew probably can speak better than this, but if you were not at the committee meeting, Clay updated us on this. I think it's something that is working extremely well in the juvenile justice system, and I think it's something that's needed. By doing the Facts of Life, it is helping out the system. One of the issues was, I think one of the judges was not using it, but she was in the a different section, wasn't in the detention part at this point, and that was why she was doing child in need of care cases, so that was the reason it was a little bit off. And hopefully we can move this forward and get this funded out too.
Mr. Lynn?
I prepped Clay for this, and so I'm not hitting him with a blind punch in this question that I'm going to ask him. And ultimately, what I want to know is exactly what David Cox asked in the last visit around, and that was, what is the comparison between all the programs offered to the juveniles that come before judges in the juvenile detention facility, and what are the positive or negative outcomes with the other programs that the other judges use? And I'll just tell you these numbers, is that approximately 70% of all the referrals to this program, Facts of Life, are from Judge Young. Another, I guess 20% would be from Judge Matlock, and about 10% from Judge Stone. And so my question is, what do Judge Stone and Judge Matlock offer instead of Facts of Life, and what is the outcome of those programs in the recidivism and the turnaround on the youth within the juvenile detention facilities? And so are they sending youth to programs that don't work, or do their programs work just as well, yet they don't cost the parish extra money that we could then in turn use for other stuff? Go ahead.
I certainly can't speak to why the judges do what they do, and Judge Matlock is here to speak for himself if need be, but this is a program that treats kids who have been convicted, who have been adjudicated, and essentially teaches them morals. And that's the shortest way I can say it. It teaches character, something that they haven't to that point gotten in their life. It reduces recidivism by 50%. So 50% of the kids that go through this don't come back that would have otherwise come back to us with another charge. We don't have another program like it. There's not a comparable program to say that Judge Matlock or Judge Stone are using another program just like it. This is the one we have that does this. We have a lot of programs, Teen Court, for example. We've got, you may have heard of, we've got Power of Choice, which is another, violence prevention, Stamp Out shoplifting. Those are all preventative programs before they're prosecuted. So Stamp Out shoplifting, kids gets picked up on shoplifting, he has no other record. Rather than go through the whole court, take up a DA and a public defender and a judge and all that, he goes through a diversion program. That program has about a 5% recidivism rate. It's very effective. But it's also because that's a pretty lightweight case. Shoplifting, no other history. We usually get in touch with mom and dad, and that they don't come back. The one we're talking about, Facts of Life, is more serious. It's not their first offense. It's a more serious offense. They've been adjudicated. They've gone through the whole system, and yet still has only about a 20% recidivism rate, 19%. So it's effective. It's good. We don't have others to compare it to, like you say, and I don't have any numbers on programs that we do not think are effective. There's no real magic to what we do. You get a kid, you try to figure out if mom or dad are effective, or do they know what they're doing? Do we need an ankle monitor to keep them in their house? And they don't go out after 10 o'clock at night. I mean, there are things we do that are pretty simple, and they're very effective. The ankle monitor program is about 4% of the kids that have an ankle monitor on that go commit another crime. 96% of them do exactly what we tell them to do. So they're effective, and we don't fund anything that I'm aware of that I don't think is effective. But this is a program for a little deeper end kid. It's more serious cases, but we have to teach them morals they didn't get up until this point. They're not getting it at home. They're not getting it from a church. I mean, the normal places that we would get it, from our churches and our homes and our community and our extended family, and so and the judges can't do it. The judges see them once every 3 months. The probation officer sees them once a month, once a week. We give them a good stern talking to. We offer them a helping hand, but what they need is something different. It's more of a counseling. This is, an 8-session program. Their parents have got to go too, so the parents and the kids go, and they learn about making better choices. They learn about, when you shoplift, you make everybody else's price go up. There are people that worked hard to build that company that you're stealing from. You just teach them a little bit about their consequences, but it's an effective program.
Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Lynch?
Yeah, I had a question. The special programs, that's under the juvenile court budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's where you all previously approved the budget amendment earlier this year for this program, and it was under the juvenile court's budget.
Still has some left in it?
They've used the amount of money that you appropriated early in the year.
So where is the money coming from?
We are taking it off the fund balance within the juvenile justice fund.
Oh, okay, so it's coming from the fund balance.
Yeah, it's coming from the fund itself. We're not transferring from any other fund.
It's coming from the juvenile court fund?
No, it's the juvenile justice fund, but within the juvenile justice fund, there's a section for the juvenile court, and then there's a section for juvenile services.
Okay, when did we do a budget amendment?
Back in March, you did about I think it was $38,000.
Yeah.
Coming back was contingent upon what?
I'm sorry.
I mean, you wouldn't know that.
Success is my understanding.
That was it.
We did it for that was for 6 months?
Yeah.
To measure success is my understanding.
Oh, okay, thank you. And so this is only for until the end of the year?
That's
this $28,000?
my understanding, and yes.
Okay. And so what is the cost of the total program?
My understanding was somewhere around $75,000 a year would be the estimated total annual cost.
And I guess my question is, is this something that we're just trying to get through the end of the year, or is this something that we're looking to continue to fund in perpetuity?
From my perspective, what we need is I need an arsenal. I need every weapon that you can give me, and I understand your budget constraints. And I am so grateful for the discussion y'all are having to talk about helping the kids. This is what we need. I need
You have a funding source?
that's Erica's magic. I mean, honestly, I understand the deficit. I understand that.
Commissioner, there is something we're discussing now through the 2012 budget process as to whether or not, through administration, that they can recommend funding this program. As you know, we have a shortage in the juvenile justice fund, and everything you add is how much more we need to transfer into the fund. So it's something that based on, we haven't met with the judges and Ted and yet to present or determine what they like in that budget. I would think that they want to recommend to the commission that you all fund this ongoing. Now, whether or not administration is ready, I can't, whether or not administration is ready to make that recommendation, that's the part I cannot answer, but I would think that they want this as an ongoing, about $75,000 a year.
Okay. Well, I guess I've been on my soapbox already today. Again, it's about priorities and what, how we're going to allocate our resources in a fund that we're already running a deficit instead of adding more deficit spending to. We've got an arsenal of programs. I think somebody said 6 pages full of programs, and hopefully we can get that copy of those programs. I think you all are supposed to be getting us a copy of them that are there, that are not costing us any money, in addition to all of the programs that we provide some funding to that are already existing in the community, and maybe some of these kids can be directed towards some of these other programs that we're already giving money to, that are working with them on character issues and so on and so forth. We support 4-H and Boy Scouts, and like I said, some other programs. Just really kind of getting concerned about a large increase in the juvenile budget, over a period of time.
If I may.
And if we are going to continue to patch every 6 months or, to keep these programs going, or are we going to make a commitment to this is what we're going to do and we're going to fund it and bite the bullet, or are we going to just keep piecemealing? Because what we did with Star Boot Camp, when the funding ran out, we continued to support it for a while, and the decision was made, that actually an analysis was done on the effectiveness of it, and the numbers didn't really support, the outlay, but it was a strain, and it went away, and, the world didn't come to an end. I mean, we continued to operate and to do those things that we had to do, so I'm just not really, sure $75,000 in addition to, some other things that we're looking at doing.
If I may say 2 things.
If you all can reduce your budget to absorb some of this, I think I'll be okay.
What we need to do on the budget end, if I may, is I think we need to I can present to the Juvenile Justice Subcommittee essentially a blueprint of what juvenile services should look like in my mind. And that would have all of this arsenal that we need, and then you decide this is what the money you have for. I mean, and I understand the way the deficit works. I understand you're limited by the number of undedicated accounts and all that sort of stuff. I'll present to you what I know, which is the juvenile services, and then you decide what we have and how we prioritize it, what we have the money for. But I can tell you that when boot camp went away, the world didn't come to an end, but there's a certain number of boys that works real well for, and we lost that option. We use a lot of free ones. This past weekend we sent a handful of kids to Shreveport Green to help them clean up some things, but I can only send certain kids to Shreveport Green, not deep-end kids. Deep-end kids, I need certain programs with professionals that deal with kids that are further down the wrong path that we're trying to bring back. But here's the bottom line. 8% of the kids in juvenile services are committing serious, scary crimes. They're in jail and they're going to stay in jail. 92% right now are in the community, and we're trying to steer them back to the right path. Just a living wage job and don't commit crimes. I'm not asking for the moon here. Just don't commit crimes and pay your taxes. And that's it.
So is what you're talking about presenting to us greatly in excess of what we're spending now?
No. I've had the conversation with Erica.
Yeah, we're still working out the numbers
Okay.
for juvenile services through administration.
Okay.
And we would like to request from the commission to approve for the 2012 budget. It may or may not include ongoing funding. That's not to say you all want to approve it, but the question is whether or not administration will ask you to. We're still working out those particular programs and salary adjustments, and we'll have all that for you all on the 28th of September. We'll be meeting with you all on the 28th of September, and by that point, it should be ironed out as to what we like to see in that budget. for
I'm
juvenile
only
service.
speaking for myself. If it's not in there, and we've got to just keep coming back, give us 6 more months, give us 3 more months, give us, I don't want to be nickel and dime.
Well, and we don't either,
Here.
and we don't, if it's something that'll go, the thing is, we have to look at all the programs
I
that are,
understand.
and all the items that they're, because that's not the only item that's been requested for funding. And so when you have a multitude of things that you're trying to fund, we have to prioritize because, bottom line, we're estimating you're going to have to transfer in $1.6 million to maintain status quo. And that number's growing. So we have to consider, that also. All programs are wonderful programs. And I'm just the one that's saying how much money you have available. They'll have to be the ones to determine what programs they can fund with the monies that they have.
Thank you.
Ms. Bowman?
Well, that's what the deficit is 2.5, but we're proposing to transfer in 1.6.
Well, one of the things that basically concerned me was looking at the list of, on the NGO list, and all of these programs that are listed there, saying that some of them do, but then some of them honestly don't. But you have all of these programs listed there. Why couldn't a lot of that be cut out and put it towards this $28,000 that's needed for juvenile when you have judges, people that were elected and have the ability to handle these situations more than somebody who just decided, I'm going to start a nonprofit for kids, and this is what I'm going to do, and I might fatten my own pocket in the process of doing that. When you know where this is going, I'm just looking at it like that, and then I listen to Judge Young when he spoke to us in the committee meeting, and it made a lot of sense. At first, I wasn't so much, because I didn't know the ins and outs. He gave us a stack of letters from kids who had gone through this program. And well, everybody didn't request it, but I certainly did. And I think you might have gotten it, and of course he just didn't want the names to get out. But I read those letters, and a lot of them were very impressive. These young people that went through the program, and how they thanked them for changing their lives because they could have gone this way. Instead, they stayed down on the right path. So, therefore, that convinced me that it was certainly something that was needed. But one other question, do you all have anything like, I watched this program on A&E, and it's called Scared Straight. Do you have anything like that?
They can't do that no more.
Don't worry.
Why?
We call him Judge Matlock. The truth is on Scared Straight, and this, I don't want to take too long with this, it's just not effective.
Right.
You bring a kid into jail, you scare him, and 48 hours later, it's not as scary as he remembers. It's just not effective.
I think if they had something like that, wasn't that on Rutherford Street that those juveniles went in there and did all this stuff to the homeowner and took a car, and that's just recent. They need to be scared straight.
Well,
for what they did, they need to be in real jail. They don't need to be in juvenile. But before they get to that point, I do think they need to be scared straight some kind of way.
I can just tell you, it works on me because the idea scares me of going to jail. So, it makes sense, for us emotionally that it would scare them straight, but it doesn't. And what we look at is we try to, following what Mr. Cox said, we try to look at a program, the kids after they do the program, are they still getting in trouble or are they changing their ways? And we just follow the ones that work. That one makes sense to me emotionally, but it doesn't, for whatever reasons, lots of different child psychology reasons, doesn't work on the kids.
Okay, and finally, I would suggest when we start on the budget, that we look at all of these programs and not just what they say they do, but how long have you been in operation, and what is your success rate with the programs that you have? And if they're not doing that, take the money, put it where we know and we have a little bit of input as to what's going on with it. Thank you very much. John, what is your problem?
Love you, Joyce. Let me ask you something. This program, it was brought to us at the beginning of the year, and we funded it at the request of the judges, wasn't it correct?
Yes, sir, I believe, $38,000.
And who's administering it?
Actually, DYJ invoices, I believe.
Why are you carrying Ted's water? Ted's usually the one coming up here asking for money. I'm just,
This should be our program. We should design these programs, not the court.
Okay, well, then, I like what you said. I'm going to expect, you've been there long enough. I think we need a good overview of what you expect that you should desire to provide out of your office. And we'll have to determine, you have X amount of dollars for budget, where you want to spend that money. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm the expert, I'm willing to spend it. I don't have a problem with running a deficit in juvenile. We run a deficit since '95, since I've been here off and on, and we've always managed it. Our money is what it is. But at the same time, I realize that regardless of how many less kids come through the system, and how many programs we have or don't have, that over a period of time, everything gets more expensive every year. In fact, the coroner's the only person that returns a buck to us every year. So I realize whatever we're going to give you budget-wise, you're going to spend it. It's just the nature of the beast. God bless the coroner, by the way. I want to say that publicly. He gives us money back every year.
No, go ahead. I was just telling Commissioner.
Oh, okay. But anyway, so present that budget. You've been there long enough to have a feel on it, to know what you feel works and what doesn't work. Because I'm like Ms. Lynch in a lot of ways. I think sometimes we throw money at something year after year after year without really seeing the results. You mentioned the STAR boot camp, and I like that whole concept. And but then if you start really looking at a cost-benefit ratio on what you get, it's a great program. It saved a few, but at what cost? An extraordinary cost. So the question is, can we take the same amount of resources and have broader reach, do better? So since you said you were going to do that, I expect that plan, because I'm like Steffi. That way we don't have to nickel and dime it every year, and we can just let you take your money and spend it where you want to. Overall, we've made great strides over there. The media is off our tail. It's either because we're doing something right or they're not interested anymore, or they don't have any reporters left. I don't know which one it is. But I think it's because it's having an impact. And I want to publicly commend Ms. Lynch and Mr. Lynn, because I know that over the last 4 years they've worked very, very hard with juvenile issues and are dedicated to it, even though they seem to disagree a little bit on this matter. I think the end result that they're wanting is the same. I think that just the discussion is how do we get there. So I'm going to support you on this, but I want to see that plan, and I want to see how you plan on using your money that you're going to be budgeted this year. And you're going to have to I'd rather you make the hard decisions than us decide in the future what programs are going to stand and what's not. Let you take the heat for it, and I'm sure Ted will be happy to let you take the heat for it in his place. He's taken the heat for a lot of years. So,
Commissioners, I'd like to just clarify. I think I said 1.6, but that amount that we're projecting to transfer in for 2012 is 2.6. And unless we have funds above that the commission is willing to offer, that's about as much as we're thinking we can get into the fund from the criminal justice fund, $2.6 million.
And I presented that blueprint to the administration, because I agree with you. I don't want to keep inching it up and doing it. It is one thing, and it really is just the blueprint of what we need in juvenile. And I presented that, and so we'll try to work on that a little bit and bring it to you.
Mr. Cox, wind us up on this one.
Well, before I see you and Mr. Escadade and Lynch go down the yellow brick road singing Kumbaya, I'd like to ask for a question.
Second. I have nobody else, so why don't we go ahead and vote?
Yeah, vote.
Vote to move it to Thursday. All right. We got one against and everybody else for it.
Could have had the same vote. 2 times.
Take ordinance number 5130 of 2011, amending and reenacting Chapter 2, Section 3 of the Caddo Parish Code of Ordinances regarding the application fee for the sale or donation of adjudicated property.
So moved. Second. Moved by Mr. Escudero, second by Mr. Pearson. No speakers.
Oh, whoa. I have to.
Lord.
Somebody puts on everything
Right.
today.
Come on.
Let me, where's Jimmy here? Explain to me exactly what we're doing, because we're doubling the application price.
No, I'll explain this in a nutshell.
Okay.
What you have before you today pertains only to online sales.
Okay.
What the company, it's the same company that does the sheriff's tax sale and did the city of Shreveport's tax sale this year. What they're going to do, and it's going to be a great thing for the buyers, what they're going to do is when we put our selected properties online, when you bid on one and you become the high bidder, they're going to ask you for a $600 fee. They're going to do all of the notifications as required by law, any required advertising, all the notifications, everything, and when it's all said and done, they're going to guarantee you an insurable title.
That's great.
Now, let me tell you what people do as we speak now. They go do the notices and everything else. They cannot get an insurable title, get title insurance, unless they go over here to district court and file a lawsuit. Minimum $1,500 up to thousands of dollars, depending on if they have to appoint curators and whatnot. This group is going to at first, and if somebody doesn't want to buy it online, they can still come to our office, and nothing's changed in the office. This is just for online sales, and but for $600, that company is guaranteeing an insurable title.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
Okay, cast your vote to move to Thursday. Next.
Resolution number 43 of 2011, approving the issuance of not exceeding $2,100,000 of certificates of indebtedness, series 2011, Communication District Number 1 of Caddo Parish, Louisiana, providing for the other matters in connection herewith.
Move to Thursday. Second.
Moved by Mr. Escudero, second by Mr. Lynn.
I would like Mr. Grant Sluter to come and briefly tell us what's going on.
3 minutes.
I have an idea, but, we let him earn his money.
It'll be much shorter than 3 minutes. Grant Schluter with Foley Udell Bond Counsel. It's not exceeding $2.1 million. The 911 district needs to make improvements to the communications center, roofing, air conditioning, heating, some expansion, and so forth. We're going to do an RFP to banks. We expect a great interest rate because, one, the rates are at historic lows, but also because the finances of the 911 district are in great shape, just like yours are, and they maintain good reserves, and we expect to get a very low interest rate.
You're the man.
Golly.
He's good. Long way to travel.
Yes, Grant. And certainly this isn't pertaining to that 9/11, but every 9/11 I think of you and your wife, and of course the time we were there at the World Trade Center. And I do appreciate the picture that you gave me.
I'll never forget it either.
Thank you.
All right. Vote to move to Thursday. All in favor?
Thank you.
Resolution number 44, 2011, approving borrowing $137,120 by North Caddo Hospital Service District.
Move to Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dominic, second by Mr. Escudé. Baker, have any comments? No. Move second. Did you have anything, Ms. Bowman?
No, sir.
All right, let's vote.
But point of order,
All right.
you were acting a little bit like Ken Apperson
Uh-oh.
out there. When somebody else seconded something and then you call somebody else's name. Thank you very much.
The wife of me.
You're not used to being ignored, John.
Next, we have authorized resolution recognition for Marty and Crystal Woolridge.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dominic, second by Ms. Bowman.
Thank you.
Any other speakers? Vote to move to Thursday.
Sam's meeting now.
Authorized travel for Commissioners Baker and Lynch to attend NACO's annual Loose Retreat in Palm Beach, Florida from October 26th to 28th.
Move to Thursday.
Second, what is this?
This is
Second
NACO
by Ms.
Large
Bowman.
Urban,
Go ahead, Ms. Lynch.
it's NACO Large Urban County Caucus, which President Elias appointed both myself and Lindora to this. I think we've been on this board about 2 years now, and you all approved us to go last year to this conference. LUC represents the top 100 largest counties in the United States. I was kind of able to get Caddo on, I guess it's been a few years ago now, because they had grandfathered in a couple of counties that had about 300,000 in population when they first formed the group, and there was no representation from Louisiana, although East Baton Rouge, Jefferson, and Orleans Parish, I believe, are larger than Caddo. Caddo is the fourth largest parish. But since we had no representation on this committee, then I asked if Caddo would be considered, and so we received those appointments. And so, those issues that are urban issues are the ones that this committee particularly focuses on. Right now, from this particular committee, what I'm working on, and I think I gave a report on the project that we're working with Elena Beard on about locating a business here. She's becoming a franchise owner of Jamba Juice is what the franchise is. That requires about a $500,000 outlay just to get a franchise. And I've passed that information on to Ms. Baker as well as to Mr. Wilson. And we're talking with her attorneys now. She's also interested in working with our, I've told her about the program that Superman Blunt has. She's interested in working with us on NACO's initiative, what's called Healthy Counties, parishes in our case. And she's interested in working with us on that, so we're in talks with her folks about that. Also, a little caveat that I learned from the last meeting that we had about this state 4E money that some states are getting waivers to use for some of their juvenile funding, and having more flexibility, not to have the state to tell them how to spend the money, but giving the individual counties a particular waiver to allow them to fashion that funding in a way that helps them. And it's something I'm still very interested in talking with those counties about and seeing how we can do that to help with some of those issues. I'm particularly looking for, I'm not sure what we're doing.
Yes, I just didn't know what the LUCC was. I'm just coming back. And then, just on a personal note, I wouldn't mind going to Palm Beach, Florida.
Go ahead.
I think you
I
ought to
can
get
go.
on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money for these honors of appointments that we get.
I am teasing. Thank you very much.
Real quick, I mean, on that kind of a line of questioning, under the transportation for NACO, I'm on that board and have been for the last, I think it's been 5 years. We have conference calls, because if they do want to have a conference or a get-together, they take a vote, okay, who can make it, who don't, get a percentage. I'm not saying that I don't want you to go. I'm just, I'm really getting tired of trips everywhere, every month or every other month. And it seems that some of these committees, money-wise, because our constituents look at us, and you know how some of these newspapers are, especially the Inquisitor, looks at our travel and getting our bang for our buck, which I tell everybody, when we go for a purpose, okay? But I would ask that NACO, and if we're on committees, to start telling them, hey, look, what about a conference call? You know?
Yeah, and I agree.
Because you look at the time spent there to the time that we spend actually in some of these meetings, it's 90-10, 10% of the time is in a meeting, and that's it. So, that's my personal opinion. I'm gonna vote yes, but I'm gonna send a letter to NACO because times are tough everywhere.
Absolutely.
And it is time for them to start thinking savings for everybody. And that means, looking back and saying, to heck with a 2-day Palm Beach, Florida resort, get a conference call in. So, but that's all my comment.
I appreciate your comment, Zeke. Let me tell you, I chair another committee. I'm sorry.
You know, we sat here and talked about this money problem for so long on the juvenile thing. How much does that trip cost? Let's just cancel this trip and we'll put that money on juvenile, a real problem. We've had enough trips. I'm going to vote against it. I'm tired of these trips and wasting the money. It's very important. I understand trips, but this is ridiculous, guys. I'm not going to support it.
I appreciate your comments, David. I chair the Programs and Services Committee for NACO, as well as now vice chair of the Justice and Public Safety Committee, and we do conference calls. Some of it depends on the size of the committee. I mean, there are 140 people on the Justice and Public Safety Committee. Programs and Services probably has maybe about 35 or 40 folks. So some of it depends on the size. NACO is having those conversations about doing more, and actually are doing more by webinars and conference calls and that type of thing. I know Carl can tell you, even as a board member, I'm not required to be there to give a report, but I can give my report, several different ways instead of actually having to be at the board meeting, because one of the ones that I chair is a standing committee of the board, but I can't be at every board meeting, obviously. And so those things are happening. I think I would just ask, and I think Glendora can say the same, and those of us that have been involved with NACO, either on the board or on other committees, I know when I'm at the NACO meeting, I'm running around the entire time, from meeting to meeting to meeting. The agendas are always printed. You can see how much time we're spending. And
I've been there.
Every meeting that I've been to, that time has been spent. Now, once that conference ends at 3 or 4:30, well, really not with this one, because they plan our evenings too, to tell you the truth. And so, but I, just ask, as I do always, that y'all look at, are we bringing something back? Are we contributing? Are we bringing something back that can be implemented? I mean, I know I recently got some information that I forwarded on to Mr. Wilson about certifying our industrial parks, and he's passed that on to Jimmy and Mr. Whittington to look into, because that is something that is going to help us to market those parks. I mean, some of this information, we're getting because we're on these committees and we're talking to other, counties, some that have done some of this stuff. Even going forward with this economic development, they're looking at what is going on in other counties. They're looking at St. Louis, they're looking at Lafayette Parish, and I forget what the third one was. The mayor has a trip, which I haven't got my letter. He said he had sent it, that they're sending a delegation from Caddo Parish to Oklahoma City, October 15th, 16th, and 17th, I believe. Do you have the letter?
I hadn't seen it, but I've heard the dates.
I've got a letter.
I got a letter.
Oh, you got it? Oh,
I got a letter.
Okay. And so this is a part of it. I mean, this is a part of what we do. But I understand, and I think, definitely we need to be mindful, are all of them necessary, and if they're necessary, what are we specifically doing purpose that we're going to do if we bring something back when we come back. And hopefully, up until this point, we can say, that we have seen the benefit of those travels that we've taken. Thank you.
I'll be the last speaker. I don't think we've gotten much for our money. B, every time 3 members of NACO get together, it seems like we've got to send somebody over there. And we have the same people going all the time. And I agree with Mr. Smith. This money for travel would be, much better spent in 100 different other places. So I'm saying, this is really getting out of hand. And if this was being held in Podunk City, Oklahoma, how many people would be attending? So I'm going to ask you to vote against it. No, I will. Cast your vote, please.
I hit yes by mistake. You can record mine.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Smith's a no.
Yeah.
No.
Smith's a no.
It does not pass. Consent agenda?
That's it.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
All right. We're adjourned.
Give me a grand.